Hey there. So I've taught a variety of ASL courses over the years, and I always have my hearing students ask me what deaf residential schools are like. So I try to describe it. I say it's great. I love the deaf residential schools. And then I tell them, picture this. I ask them, have you ever seen the movie Harry Potter? And typically they're very big fans of it. Most people have seen it. It's great. And I tell them that it's very similar to the experiences of the characters in the movie. So go into depth a little bit more. So you have the Hogwarts school, and that's for the wizards. So you start when you're young, and then you go until you're an adult. It's the same for the deaf residential schools. So sometimes the wizards live in the Muggle world, and then it's time to go to Hogwarts. They board the train, and then they all head over there. It's the same for the deaf residential schools, except we just use a bus or sometimes a train too. And then when you get there, it's just fantastic. You get to hang out with all your great friends again. So it's just the same. We have a variety of staff, and it's great. We have some awesome teachers. You have some teachers that are witches, and that are sort of like the movie. You have different interest groups, different cliques. Some of your best friends are there. And then sometimes you have some of your rivals. And it's the same with at the deaf residential schools. So you have the cafeteria, and you see people lined up. Same for the deaf residential schools. We all socialize the same as well. We have dorms just like Hogwarts. So at Hogwarts you have different sports teams for Quidditch and such, where you're trying to catch the golden snitch and chase that around. And those are different wizard sports. It's the same for the deaf residential school. We have tons of tournaments and competitions where people can come and compete and hang out. We even compete with hearing people too. So it's like you have the muggles and the wizards. It's the same with having the deaf and the hearing people. Same sort of concept. So the muggles and the wizards sort of have a dispute. You have Lord Voldemort, and he wants to destroy the wizard, or he wants to destroy the Muggle world, and he takes over Hogwarts. He wants to control the world. At the residential schools, you have the culture and everything, and you have people that are trying to take over and do all sorts of things. Like you have Alexander Graham Bell, and people are trying to shut down the deaf community and whatnot. So I guess sort of like Alexander Graham Bell's group was much like Voldemort. So coming back, so you have Harry Potter. He grew up, and he struggled with his identity. There was a piece of him missing. He didn't have a family growing up. So he had great potential to be powerful, but he just didn't know it. And then he went to Hogwarts, and he really took off. It's the same for deaf people with hearing parents. They struggle with their identity and everything. And then they start learning ASL and get immersed in the culture and start hanging out with deaf people. And then they just have this wonderful deaf identity. And that's the same with Harry Potter, the main character. He socialized with people that were like him, and you just see this wonderful development. It's great. So I just watched the last part of the whole series, and they're all graduating, and everyone's clapping. It's the same for the deaf residential schools. Everyone at the end, they're getting married or they're having kids. And they have 3 or 4 generations that go there into the same schools. Hogwarts and deaf residential schools are so similar. it's just amazing.